In this case study, we are following Kathy, a middle-aged woman with a family history of breast cancer. At a recent mammogram, her radiologist, Dr. Benjamin, suggests getting genetically tested for mutations in the BRCA1 and BRCA2 genes, which are linked to significantly increased risk for breast cancer due to her daughter Rachel's history with the disease. She brings the topic up during a book club meeting with her friends, who offer differing opinions on whether she should consider getting tested or not. We will now hear from the 5 other members of the book club, John, Martha, Mary, Peter, and Sarah, about their individual opinions and experiences on genetic testing, as well as any advice they have for their friend Kathy. Together, their voices will help us explore the question at the heart of this case study. Is a little knowledge a dangerous thing? What's your perspective on Kathy's situation and her decision about genetic testing?
I strongly believe that Kathy should get tested. My wife Barbara and I both went to get genetic testing ourselves for Tay-Sachs before we had kids, and we were grateful to have that information. It helped us make the decision to adopt children and helped us to plan our lives better.
But isn't there a risk that the information might cause anxiety?
Sure, but not knowing can cause just as much stress and so much more if you are a carrier. If Kathy has a mutation in her BRCA genes, wouldn't she rather know now than wait until something life-threatening develops later? Early knowledge means early action, whether that's more frequent screening or taking preventive steps. The more you know, the better decisions you can make.
So you'd encourage her to get tested?
Absolutely. Getting tested helps prepare you for the future. Kathy owes it to herself and to her family to make informed choices. That starts with knowing what she's dealing with.
So it seems John strongly supports genetic testing as a proactive step to making informed and responsible choices. From his experience, he sees genetic test results as a tool for prevention, not a reason for stress and anxiety. Now, let's hear from another one of Kathy's friends, Martha, who is a bioinformatics researcher at a pharmaceutical company. Thank you for joining us, Martha. Do you think Kathy should take the genetic test?
I think she should. I actually been working on a research project related to Human Genome Project and finding out more on the causes of disease and genetics. And every time someone gets a genetic test, their data can contribute to a larger pool of information. The bigger amount of data we have, the easier it is for researchers to find patterns and understand how certain genes are linked to diseases, like breast cancer.
So your advice is for Kathy to be tested. Would you say your viewpoint comes from a scientific perspective? Would Kathy's results really make a difference?
They should. In the researcher's perspective, even one person's data adds so much to what we know. And on a personal level, if Kathy really does have the mutation, she can use the knowledge to take steps early like John did. Taking the test would be a win-win, both for her and for science, but we'll face some obstacles before and after the genetic testing.
Thank you, Martha, for sharing out your opinions. Next, Mary's going to share what she thinks about Kathy's situation. Mary, what's your perspective on Kathy's situation and her decision about genetic testing?
Honestly, I don't know if she should get the test or not. My practitioners say good things about genetic testing and I understand why people like John and Martha support it. But there's also the ethical side that we should consider. What will happen to Kathy's genetic information after the test? Who will have access to it? Can it affect her insurance, her job? Those aren't small things.
So you're concerned about privacy?
Yes, privacy and how the information is used. Once you take a genetic test, the data might be stored in a database. Even if it's supposed to be anonymous, there's always ways you can get the information. And many people have faced discrimination because of their DNA and what it says about their future health.
But wouldn't knowing her risks still be helpful?
Maybe, but it depends on how prepared Kathy is to handle that information. It might not just be about medical decisions, as the result could affect her life in ways she hasn't even thought about. I think she should talk to professionals, like a genetic counselor, first and fully understand the ways she could go forward, then decide if she wants to take this step or not. Once you know something, you can't unknow it.
Those are some really good points from Mary. Now, the discussion continues with Peter, who also has thoughts about what Kathy should consider before making her decision.
Hi, my name is Peter, and I'm a yoga instructor. Some of my core principles include eating healthy, exercise, and reducing stress through different forms of yoga and meditation. Regarding Kathy's situation, I support her in whatever decision she makes. Testing can be helpful for some people, but for others, it could just bring a lot of emotional stress, and Kathy is one of them. Imagine finding out you carry a gene for something serious like cancer, then having to live with that anxiety every day, even if you're healthy.
But wouldn't it be better to know so she could prepare?
Sure, it could, but it's more complicated than that. Families could fall apart and people might lose their jobs from the test results. She should consider if she and the people close to her are ready for it.
That was a helpful insight. Thank you, Peter, for joining us. To close out the individual interviews, we will hear from Sarah, who has her own personal history with genetic testing, one that was largely responsible for shaping her perspective on Kathy's situation. Sarah, you recently talked to Kathy about her mammogram appointment during the book club meeting. What are your thoughts on her situation and whether she should get tested for the BRCA mutation? I personally wouldn't encourage her to get tested since I've had bad experiences with getting tested myself. While there are laws forbidding it, there is a lot of genetic discrimination going on in the world. Her genetic results are not guaranteed to stay private, which could possibly cause many problems in the future. No one, including me, can really say what's best for her though, because we're not the ones living with the outcome. So you think the risks outweigh the benefits? Yes, I advise her not to take the test because I firmly believe no good will come out of it. As we've heard, there are opposing opinions on whether or not Kathy should get tested for the BRCA mutations. On one side, John and Martha argue about the benefits of getting tested, while on the other side, Mary, Peter, and Sarah worry the downsides will outweigh the benefits. According to the National Library of Medicine, a study across the US, Canada, and Australia showed that 46% of respondents report genetic discrimination due to their family genetic history, even though laws like the Genetic Information and Non-Discrimination Act forbid any discrimination against genetic disorders. Another survey across 1,500 participants demonstrated high levels of concern for health and life insurance of people with a family history of genetic disorders. So, our group ultimately decides that we think Kathy should not get tested at this time.